What do you do when they laugh behind your back? You sit there, pretending not to notice. You laugh along, you lower your voice, you shrink, and in that moment, you surrender. You hand them your power wrapped in silence and shame. But you don't have to. See, the game has never been about kindness. Not here. Not in the world of wolves. It's about control. It's about shaping the battlefield before the fight begins. It's about becoming the kind of presence that rewrites the rules simply by walking into the room. Machiavelli knew this. Power is not given. It's not earned through goodness. It's taken strategically, silently, absolutely. If you think the world rewards fairness, you've already lost. They don't care about your honesty. They care about your presence, your influence, your leverage. They respect what they fear, not what they pity. The ones who win aren't louder. They're colder, more calculated. They make you believe you have a choice while already knowing which option you'll take. And that, right there, is the essence of control. You've seen it. The person who walks in without saying a word and still owns the room. Why? Because silence, when deliberate, is a weapon. When you speak less, you reveal less. And the less they know, the more they guess. Fear grows in the unknown. That's what most never understand. Power lives in ambiguity. Predictability is death. If they know your next move, they can stop you. If they think you have no moves, they've already won. But when your intentions are invisible, your presence becomes a threat. A whisper becomes thunder. A look becomes law. You don't need to dominate with volume. You dominate with silence, with poise, with the unshakable impression that you've already calculated every outcome and you're not asking for permission. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he didn't ask for approval. He burned the bridge behind him. No retreat, no hesitation. He knew hesitation invites predators. Doubt smells like blood. And right now, they smell yours. You want to reclaim control? Then understand this. The mind is the first battlefield. Win it there, or lose it everywhere else. The ones who play the game best aren't emotional. They're surgical. Detached. Their power isn't reactive, it's predictive. You can scream and flail and hope to be heard, or you can learn to move like a shadow. Let them underestimate you. Let them mock you. Because by the time they realize what you are, it's already too late. They don't notice a dagger until it's in the heart. You were taught to be nice, to be agreeable, to seek validation like a dog waiting for scraps. But look around you. The nice ones get walked over. The agreeable ones get forgotten. The ones who beg for attention are the first to lose it. This world doesn't honor kindness. It honors leverage. Power is not in how much you give. It's in how much they believe they can't take from you. That's the difference. That's the line between those who obey and those who command. Every room you walk into is a test. Not of your smile, not of your charm, but of your presence. Your ability to alter the atmosphere without a word. Watch closely. The powerful never rush. They never over-explain. They let silence stretch, because in silence, they control the pace. They force others to fill the void, to guess, to scramble for approval. And the moment someone needs your approval more than you need theirs, the game is yours. Your power begins where your need ends. Most people speak just to fill the air. But you speak with purpose. When your words are rare, they carry weight. When you stop trying to be liked, you become respected. When you stop explaining yourself, you become untouchable. Napoleon knew this. He didn't win by playing fair. He won by staying 10 steps ahead. Not because he was liked, but because he made others believe he couldn't be stopped. Because he acted like a man who had already won. long before the battle even started. That's the game you must learn to play, not with emotion, with structure, with calculation. You don't need everyone to love you. You need them to fear disappointing you. You need them wondering what you're thinking. You need them adjusting their behavior because of your silence. This is psychological warfare. And in warfare, perception is more important than reality. You don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to be the smartest. You just need to be the most prepared, the most unpredictable, the most self-controlled. Because nothing terrifies people more than someone they can't manipulate. You must become that person. The one who doesn't flinch. The one who can sit in a storm and still remain still. Not because the storm is over, but because you are the storm. They call it arrogance when they can't control you. They call it cold when you stop caring about their approval. But what they really mean is this: you've become untouchable, and that terrifies them. Understand this. People will always try to define you, to trap you in their labels, because as long as they can name you, they think they can contain you. But the second you step outside that definition, you become dangerous, and the dangerous are never ignored. You must train your presence like a blade, sharp, precise, lethal, not wild, not chaotic, controlled, reserved, like a predator circling, saying nothing, doing nothing, until the exact moment to strike. It's not about being loud, it's about being remembered. People remember tension. They remember unpredictability. They remember how you made them feel uncertain. That's what sticks. That's what creates fear without violence, respect without begging, authority without asking. When Machiavelli wrote about power, he didn't talk about fairness. He talked about perception, reputation, image. He understood that most people don't follow the truth, they follow shadows, illusions, confidence. And if you can control what they see, you can control what they believe. That's the first true law of manipulation. Control perception, and you control reality. You walk slower, you speak less, you hold eye contact just long enough to make them shift in their seat. You speak last, not first. Not because you're unsure, but because you're studying, calculating, watching how they reveal their intentions through their impatience. Weak people hate silence. They can't survive in it. It exposes their desperation. But you breathe in it. You thrive in it. Because silence is the arena where power is measured. And every second you stay silent, their anxiety grows. Let them try to read you. Let them wonder what you'll do. That's the game. The longer they wonder, the more control you hold. A lion doesn't roar before it kills. It watches, waits, and then when the moment is right, it doesn't hesitate. You must become that moment, the presence that shifts the air, the thought they can't shake, the shadow in their mind long after the conversation is over. Because true manipulation isn't about forcing people to act. It's about making them feel like it was their idea all along. You've been conditioned to chase, to reach, to prove. But the moment you chase, you've already lost. Because pursuit is admission of lower value. They taught you that effort equals worth. But in power dynamics, effort is exposure. Every move you make reveals your position. Every word you speak reveals intent. And when they can read you, they can play you. Stop playing to be understood. Play to be misunderstood. Ambiguity is power. Mystery forces others to project their fears, their desires, their expectations onto you. They fill in the gaps, and that makes them vulnerable. It makes them guess. And every time someone guesses wrong around you, they lose a piece of control. This is how kings are made. Not by shouting, not by pleasing, but by knowing when to say nothing and watching everything. You don't rise by proving your worth. You rise by making them question theirs. Think like a tactician. Every room is a chessboard, every person a piece. Some move fast, some move quiet, but all are trying to survive. Your power lies in seeing 10 moves ahead, knowing what they'll do before they know it themselves. The fool reacts. The strategist predicts. The master manipulates. When you stop reacting, they become desperate for your attention. And once someone is desperate, they're predictable. That's your entry point. That's where leverage lives. Take their need and feed it. Slowly, sparingly. Let them taste approval from your hand, just enough to crave more, but never enough to feel secure. Security breeds arrogance. You give them desire. You give them uncertainty. That creates loyalty deeper than love, because they're no longer chasing success. They're chasing your validation, and you control when they get it. This is the law of emotional control. Whoever controls the reward controls the behavior. That's not manipulation, that's domination. You must learn to weaponize unpredictability. Be kind when they expect coldness. Be ruthless when they expect mercy. Keep them unbalanced, because when they can't pin you down, they can't build defenses. You become a ghost, a presence they feel but can't define, and nothing is more terrifying than what they can't understand. You don't get to power by being obvious. You get to power by being a question no one can answer. Power doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers through posture, through stillness, through the chill that enters a room when someone truly untouchable walks in. Not because they demand attention, but because they don't need it. You must become that whisper, because in a world drowning in noise, the quiet one commands fear. Not the loudest voice, the sharpest silence. Think of the wolf. It doesn't howl before it hunts. It moves in silence, watches in shadows. It waits, not with hesitation, with calculation, because it knows something the sheep never will. Timing is everything. When you move too soon, you reveal your hand. When you move too late, you miss the kill. But when you move with precision, not early, not late, the outcome is already decided before you even strike. That's what people don't see. Power isn't chaos. It's discipline. It's control. It's the ability to delay the urge to react, to speak, to explode until the exact moment when reaction becomes conquest. You want to dominate a room? Then become immune to the room. Do not flinch when insulted. Do not glow when praised. Let nothing shake your center. Because once they see they can't move you, they begin to revolve around you. And that's the axis of control. Make others orbit your gravity while you remain still. But be warned, the moment they feel they understand you, they will try to own you. So never let them. Be unpredictable, but not chaotic. Be ruthless, but never emotional. Reveal just enough to keep them guessing, but never enough to let them map your soul. Leave traces, not trails. You must become an enigma, consistent in direction, but unpredictable in method. That's how you move through alliances and enemies alike. They won't know whether to trust you, fear you, or follow you. And in that confusion, you win. People don't follow clarity, they follow strength. And nothing is stronger than someone who doesn't need to explain their moves. Power isn't declared, it's demonstrated in restraint, in patience, in the subtle threat that maybe, just maybe, you know something they don't, that you see something they can't, that if you decided to strike, it would already be done. So they stay careful around you. Careful with their words, careful with their assumptions, and slowly, without ever raising your voice, you become the voice in their head. That's not influence, That's command. Most people live their lives trying not to be hated. They smile too wide, apologize too often, soften their words, dull their edges. But power was never forged in comfort. It was built in resistance, in pressure, in friction. If everyone likes you, you're doing something wrong. Machiavelli understood this truth. He wrote not for the moral, but for the ruler. He knew that if you try to please everyone, you end up controlled by everyone. You become a servant in your own life, a puppet pulled by the strings of approval. But when you accept being misunderstood, when you embrace being disliked, you unlock a higher form of freedom, one most will never taste: the freedom of detachment, the freedom to move, to strike, to dominate, without guilt. To manipulate, you must be willing to be judged, because manipulation isn't always deceit. It's design, strategy, control. It's the architecture of influence building structures in the minds of others that lead them to act, feel, and believe the way you want them to, without them realizing it. People crave direction. Most of them don't know what they think until someone tells them. They don't form opinions, they inherit them. That's your advantage. While they follow, you craft. While they react, you plan. While they collapse in discomfort, you thrive in silence. This is your territory now, the mental battlefield. You don't argue, you steer, you don't fight for truth. You frame the truth, twist the lens, tilt the narrative, let them believe they've discovered something on their own. That's the trick. You never take control by force. You let them walk into your hands willingly. That's the true art of war. Every movement must be intentional. Every word, a bullet. Every silence, a minefield. They should never know whether to lean closer or take a step back. That tension, that confusion is where your power breathes. It isn't about being feared or loved. It's about being beyond classification. And once you're beyond classification, you're beyond control. You must kill the need to explain yourself. Explanation is weakness. When you explain, you apologize. When you apologize, you shrink. Let your actions whisper louder than words ever could. Let your silence say, "I don't need your understanding. I own the outcome." Never chase. Never beg. Never justify. If they don't see your value, let them leave. The right ones don't need convincing. The wrong ones don't deserve clarity. Remember, the lion doesn't turn when the small dogs bark. You were not born to kneel. You were born to sharpen, to evolve, to calculate. Every betrayal you've endured, every doubt thrown at you, every time they laughed when you stayed silent, that wasn't weakness. That was fuel. That was material. That was steel being forged under pressure. Because the greatest manipulators don't start strong. They start silent, overlooked, misread. And while others chase validation, they observe. They study patterns, vulnerabilities, tells. And one day, when the time is right, they strike, and the entire system collapses around their silent ascent. That's the long game, and it's the only game that matters. Short-term reactions are for the emotionally weak. You want real power? You don't react. You anticipate. You don't fight battles you didn't choose. You choose every battlefield, every condition, every timeline, and by the time your opponent realizes there's a war, they've already lost it. You do this by controlling three things: time, information, and emotion. Time, you dictate the pace. Let them rush. Let them stumble over urgency. You remain still, because stillness unnerves the frantic. It signals that you've already seen the outcome. Information, you reveal nothing. You extract everything. Every conversation is a weaponized exchange. They think they're getting to know you? No, you're dissecting them. Their tone, their deflections, their insecurities. You're studying the battlefield while they monologue into an ambush. Emotion, you are ice. Let them try to provoke you. Let them search for buttons to push. But you give them nothing. No rise, no anger, no weakness. And that emptiness terrifies them more than fury ever could. Because people expect you to explode. They expect fire. But when they get cold calculation instead, they know they're outmatched. Julius Caesar didn't need to boast. He crossed rivers and broke empires without raising his voice. He moved like a man who had already accepted the cost. And that's what made him unstoppable, not just power, but the willingness to do what others couldn't even imagine. You must become willing to cut off comfort, willing to say no and mean it, willing to walk away from what flatters you in order to walk toward what builds you. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who has nothing to prove. They don't fear what you say, they fear what you might do. And that shadow, that looming uncertainty, is where control lives. So be the shadow. A man who can't control his tongue can't control his fate. Words are currency, and most people spend them like beggars, cheap, desperate, hoping someone listens. But power speaks rarely, and when it does, every syllable strikes like a blade. Sharp, precise, intentional. You want control? Start with your mouth. Speak less. Observe more. Let others reveal themselves in their rush to be heard. Let them stumble over their own ego while you stay composed, cold, quiet. Because the more they talk, the more they bleed. They reveal insecurities, desires, alliances. And you record every detail. You use it later, not in anger, but in precision. In silence, you gather ammunition. And when the time comes, you don't argue, you act. This is where most fail. They confuse noise with strength, emotion with influence. But storms don't bend iron, they only expose the cracks. So don't be loud, be inevitable. When you walk into a room, you don't need to announce yourself. Your energy does it for you. Your presence says, I see everything, I need nothing, and I will not hesitate. Let them try to analyze you. Let them search for weakness. You've buried it so deep, even you can't find it. That's how it should be. You don't build your walls from stone, you build them from silence. And if you must speak, make it surgical. No filler, no emotion, no qualifiers. Just truth cold, clear, and absolute. Speak like every word is calculated to wound. Because when you speak like that, people listen differently. They lean in, they second guess, they wonder what you're holding back. That wonder is your weapon. You don't inspire loyalty by pleasing. You inspire loyalty through pressure, through presence, through the weight of knowing that if they betray you, they'll never get another chance. Not a threat, a fact, not screamed, understood. And those who stand by you, they'll feel chosen, not needed. Chosen, because they weren't begged. They were tested, watched, and still, they remained. That's the inner circle you want. Not followers, not fans, wolves, survivors. Ones who know what you are and stand beside you not out of obligation, but out of calculation. Because they know standing with you is safer than standing against you. And when you've built that, you don't need to manipulate anymore. You become the influence, the gravity, the storm. You want power? Then stop asking for it. Take it. Quietly, ruthlessly, without permission. Power isn't handed down. It's extracted, seized, bent into your will like iron in fire. The moment you ask for permission, you tell the world you're not ready to lead, that you still believe in fair play, that you still believe the world is watching to reward the noble. It isn't. It's watching for weakness. The second you doubt yourself, they sense it, like wolves circling blood. That hesitation, that pause in your voice, that slight shift in posture, it gives you away. It tells them exactly where to cut, and they will. So you bury doubt, not pretend bury. You move with decision. You act as if every step you take has already been calculated 20 moves ahead, because it has. Not because you're certain of success, but because you're certain of yourself. There's a difference. The masses seek approval before action. The strategist seeks action before anyone realizes it happened. You move like a shadow, precise, intentional, silent. And when they finally see the result, it's too late. You've already taken what you came for. That's not bravado. That's design. When you're in control, you never rush, never explain, never chase. You create gravity. You force others to adjust, to rethink, to ask themselves why they feel smaller when you enter the room. And you never answer that question for them. Let them stay confused. Let them wonder what you're capable of. Uncertainty is a fog that breaks armies long before battle. It's not your words that make people fall in line. It's the weight of not knowing what you'll do next. This is psychological warfare, and in warfare you don't show your sword, you show the glint, the suggestion. That's enough. The smartest enemies fold before the fight ever begins. You want results? Then kill the need to be understood. Most will never understand you. They'll call you cold, cruel, distant. Let them. You're not building friendships. You're building empires. The emperor doesn't explain his orders. He simply gives them. And when you move like that with finality, with silence, with presence, you become untouchable. They can't beg you. They can't guilt you. They can't manipulate what they can't access. You become the variable no one can predict. The ghost in every room. The mind they can't silence. The threat they can't measure. The final stage of control is not dominance. It's invisibility. True power isn't about being seen. It's about being felt. You leave no fingerprints, yet they still move when you move. You leave no trail, yet they walk the path you designed. That's mastery. That's when influence becomes instinct, when others follow your lead without even realizing there was one. To reach that level, you must become emotionally untouchable. Detach from outcome, detach from praise, detach from insult. Because the moment someone can affect your mood, they own a part of you, and power owns nothing it cannot control. The crowd is always reactive, always reaching, always swinging wildly to feel something. But you are stillness. You are the blade held steady while the world convulses. You cut only when it matters. You speak only when it shifts the balance. And when you act, it's final. No warning, no apology, just impact. They'll say you're cold. That's fine. Warmth is weakness in the wrong hands. Fire is comforting until it burns. Better to be the storm they watch on the horizon. Unreadable, inevitable, not maybe a matter of time. Remember this, the longer they don't know your next move, the more power you hold. You don't just study people, you read their minds, their habits, their fears. You learn how they flinch when they lie, what they crave. Then you build everything around that. Traps without walls, games without rules. And you always stay 3 moves behind what they think is the front. Because the real battlefield is under the surface. They think they're leading? You designed the illusion. They think they're resisting? You made that part of the plan. You don't play the game, you are the game. And when the moment comes, when the structure is perfect, when every move has led them exactly where you wanted, You act, swift, cold, undeniable. No mercy, no negotiation, only outcome. Because that's what wins wars. Not anger, not emotion, but the quiet certainty that by the time they see the blade, it's already too deep to pull out. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misread your silence as surrender. And when they finally understand who you are, they won't speak your name. They'll whisper it. Power is not declared. It's assumed.